Well, all those people that you just started conversation with after church, finish a conversation with them. Get to know them. So I have a message that I'm going to give today, but before I jump into that, I'm going to take just a couple of seconds to just talk about what we just saw a minute ago. Somebody was receiving prayer, and they fell to the ground. And someone says, now that's weird. Where is that in the Bible? And that's an excellent question. So, do we believe that you have to fall down if the Lord is working on you? No, we don't. However, there are biblical examples. The Bible tells us that in the Old Testament, the priests could not stand in the presence of the Lord. And there are times when it talks about them falling down in the presence of the Lord. Let me see here. I've got pulled up a little bit here that I wanted to share. So there we go. First, that's 2 Chronicles 5:13. It says, "And the house of the Lord was filled with a cloud, so that the priests could not continue ministering because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the temple." And then in 1 Kings 8, it clarifies, and it says, "So the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud." We also remember when the soldiers came to arrest Jesus, and they said, which one is Jesus? Because, they didn't have posters, or it wasn't on their phone. They're like, which one is Jesus? And he said, "I am he." Do you remember what happened? They fell. And then they got back up, and they asked again, and he said, "I am he," and they fell again. In Ezekiel 1:28, he says, "So when I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard a voice of one speaking." Daniel 10:8-9 says, "No strength remained in me. I fell into a deep sleep on my face, with my face to the ground." The Apostle John in Revelation says, "And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead." Again, this is not saying that you only experienced God's presence if you fell. There are tons of examples of God's presence when people did not feel weak at the knees, fall, or lay prostrate. But it is something that does happen in Scripture. So when we see something like that, okay. What really matters is the fruit, the change in our life and our hearts. But it's not something that we need to be concerned by. We should need to be afraid of. We don't look at that and think that somebody must be doing it. Putting on a show. Has anyone ever put on a show? Probably. But you know what? It's not my job to figure out who's putting on a show and who isn't. I just pray that God's best be done in my life and in theirs. So we continue with that. So, all right. Well, let's get into today's message. Today's message